Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and today we're going to be discussing catching Implings through the Impetious Impulses minigame, more commonly known as Puro Puro. We're going to go over a few aspects of Impling hunting, like how Puro Puro works, how different Implings will spawn inside Puro Puro so that you can hunt down specific Implings. We'll then go over the new addition to Puro Puro Impling hunting, which is Dark Lure, and finally we'll talk about which Implings you should be trying to catch and what money-making rates you could potentially see here. First of all, let's talk about the basics of Puro Puro. The only requirement to access the area is 17 Hunter. The easiest way to get there is using the crop circle in Xanris, which requires completion of the Lost City quest. You do not have to use this crop circle, so you do not have to have Lost City done for the activity, though it is far more convenient. There are a bunch of crop circle locations in the overworld that also have a portal to Puro Puro, but only one crop circle will have the portal at a time, so you have to find the right one. Hopping worlds can be a good strategy for finding this crop circle. I have left a link in the description on the wiki's page on Puro Puro transportation, which will show you a full list of the potential wheat fields that you could see a crop circle in the overworld. If you enter Puro Puro through an overworld crop circle instead of the Xanris one, you are given a farmer's affinity, which will allow you to push through the wheat in Puro Puro faster for 30 minutes. This does make it worth going through that tougher overworld portal to go ahead and help with your speed of pushing through the wheat. And if you have access to Xanris, you can talk to the Wandering Imp by the portal and ask which overworld crop circle has the portal, like where is it located. This isn't very helpful if you're trying to find the circle without access to Xanris, but it can be used to quickly gain that 30-minute buff for some Impling hunting. Once you're in the wheat maze, you can now start catching Implings. First of all, there's a small shop where you can trade some Implings for things. The magic butterfly net gives a boosted chance to successfully catch an Impling, so I highly suggest getting one as it only costs 3 gourmet, 2 earth, and 1 essence Impling. You can also trade in any Impling for 3 empty Impling jars, or you can get a jar generator for 3 essence, 2 eclectics, and 1 nature Impling. Each jar generator will give you 33 Impling jars, so it's a little bit better ratio for how many Implings you need and how many jars you get compared to just turning in any Impling for 3 empty jars. But you do have to catch specific Implings for the jar generator, where you could just turn in any Implings for those 3 empties. So they're both really reasonable methods for collecting Impling jars. If you don't have any Impling jars to start with, you can buy up to 10 per day from the same guy, Elnock Inquisitor, who opens the shop for you. They are 2k a piece, and you just have to actually talk to him. You can't buy him in his shop, but you can just ask the guy, and eventually you can buy him. There are a lot of Implings to catch in Puro Puro, and I'm going to be discussing which ones you want to catch for money making in that what to catch section, but for right now we're going to go over how the spawns work. Here's a full list of Implings that you can see in Puro Puro. The eclectic Implings and anything lower level all have their own spawn points, and they do spawn consistently. So for example, if you want to catch a bunch of eclectics, you can basically just spawn camp them for full inventories of eclectic Implings instead of having to run around and catch them. RuneLite has a plugin simply called Implings that I do use to highlight the Implings and their spawn locations. For nature Implings and anything rarer than that, including dragon and lucky Implings, they all share a spawn point, and there's only 2 of them in the room. One in the northwest corner and one in the southeast corner. This does not mean that only 2 rare Implings can be spawned at a time, but it does cap out at a pretty low amount. So if you're looking to catch dragon Implings, you do want to catch any nature, magpie, or ninja Implings, or I guess lucky Implings too, so that you force another rare Impling spawn. This is a point that a lot of dragon Impling hunters tend to miss. The nature Implings are not that helpful, nor are they very expensive, but if you catch nature Implings that are spawned in the room, you are going to speed up the spawn of other dragon Implings. Alright, let's talk about Dark Lure, the new highlight of the method. Dark Lure is a spell on the Arceuss spellbook that does require completion of a Kingdom Divided quest, which is a steeper requirement than anything else so far for hunting Implings. The spell itself requires 50 magic, and each cast is going to use a nature rune and a depth rune. So what you're going to get out of Dark Lure is extremely straightforward. If you use Dark Lure on an Impling, just like you would use a binding spell like Snare on an Impling, instead of freezing the Impling in place, it is going to instead make the Impling come towards you for 6 seconds. Like, it actually will travel right to you. You could just stand there and it'll start coming at you. Occasionally it messes up. I think if an Impling is actively running away from you, you hit it with the spell, and then it's like its timer for running away goes off while it's actually coming back to you now that you hit the spell. Sometimes they won't actually come back to you for that long, and you just got to hit them with another one. Preferably you're not using that many of either bind or snare or dark lure on really any Impling. Every time that you have to use a spell on an Impling, it's clearly costing you a little bit more money to actually catch that Impling. Overall, though, running towards Implings many times is the most frustrating part of catching Implings in Puro Puro. Especially if you freeze them, you still could end up trying to push through the wheat, have a really slow time with it, and then they just start running away afterward. Or if you're camping out eclectic Implings, Implings, even if you freeze an Impling that's getting away from you, you push through the wheat, you go over there and catch it, you now really aren't going to have enough time to get back to that eclectic spawn point before you catch another one. This problem is completely solved with Dark Lure. All the way around, if you're trying to catch Implings at Puro Puro, Dark Lure is a complete game changer. There's two different strategies for trying to make money from catching Implings, and actually a third one that I'll squeeze in there at the end. Each Impling is worth more than an Impling jar, an empty Impling jar, so really as long as you're catching anything and banking them, you're technically making a profit. The most expensive Implings that you can catch are Dragon Implings. I will point out that technically, even though Lucky Implings are untradeable, if you open one up and you got a super expensive item like Third Age, that would be the most money that you can get from one Implings. So they could be more than Dragon Implings, but that's extremely unlikely to happen. Lucky Implings are 10 times as rare as Dragon Implings, and the odds of actually getting something is very minuscule. You never know though. If you see a Lucky Impling, go ahead and catch it and try it out, but they're likely to not give you that much. At the moment, a Dragon Impling is worth 360k. If you're really hustling around the room, stamina potions, so that you never stop running, catching all of the nature Implings and higher up rare spawns to force Dragon Implings, even like hopping worlds, battling with a bunch of bots and Impling hunters, you're only going to see like 2 or 3 Dragon Implings an hour. It's definitely much more RNG dependent to be hoping for Dragon Implings, so I don't really suggest it for consistent money making. But you could have a lucky hour where you see 4 or 5 Dragon Implings, you make some good cash for some pretty low effort, and it is kind of fun to catch a Dragon Impling. The other option for a more consistent, solid money-making method in Puro Puro is camping out the eclectic Impling spawns and cranking out as many eclectics as you can. With High Hunter like 80+, you're not going to fail to catch very often. Plus, if you have Dark Lure to work with for those sneaky ones, you're going to catch a lot of Implings an hour. From 25 to 27 eclectics per inventory, depending on if you accidentally clicked a different Impling or two, snagging them, or maybe if you don't have a rune pouch. An ideal inventory of eclectics takes about 5 minutes as long as you don't have to chase it down any of those Implings. That would be 12 inventories an hour, so we'll go with 8 to 12 inventories of 25 to 27 eclectics per inventory. That's about 200 to 324 eclectic Implings per hour. If you have bare minimum Hunter and you don't bring either Dark Lure or some binding spells, you're going to have a much harder time keeping these numbers, keep in mind. If you look at this graph showing a 1 month change in price in eclectic Implings, you can see over the last couple of days they have also been going up in price. Even RuneLite, as I'm recording this, is trying to tell me that I could sell my eclectic Implings for like 5.5k right now a piece, where when I originally wrote down what I was going to discuss for the amount of money you would make off of these, I expected them to be about 4.5k a piece. So the exact amount of money you're making off eclectics is going to change a lot if the prices of those eclectic Implings change pretty heavily. I usually expect that catching an eclectic Impling, subtracting the price of the jar from it, usually making a little bit under 4k per Impling and ranging anywhere from like 700k to 1.2 mil an hour. This very much varies on your Hunter level and things like that and the price of Implings and whatnot, so something around 1 mil an hour from eclectic Implings I find is very doable if you have all of the good requirements, and being able to get 1 mil plus an hour in any sort of skilling moneymaker is pretty solid. So at the moment, eclectics are through the roof. They're like 1.5 mil an hour, but in general, you should be able to pull off 1 mil an hour while just collecting a bunch of eclectic Implings. You could even just enter Puro Puro, buy 1 Impling jar, catch a low-level Impling, like a baby Impling, turn it into 3 jars, catch the 3 baby Implings, turn them into 9 jars, and just collect as many Impling jars as possible and then sell those in the GE. You're not going to make as much money as you would catching eclectics, but you really don't have to put any money in to get started at Puro Puro. That's really the case for all of these. You don't have to put that much money in, you're not spending a lot of money, and you can get a decent amount of cash out of it. The Hunter requirements aren't really that high unless you're only thinking about like Dragon Implings, but even if you need higher Hunter for like better catch rates or for the Dragon Implings, Hunter is a fast skill to train. I always liked Puro Puro on paper, but the most frustrating part is constantly chasing around Implings that are running away from you. Even with binding spells, it got old pretty fast, and it just really wasn't easy to catch a lot of Implings in a row without just wanting to leave. I think that Dark Lure has been a huge upgrade to the quality of life in Puro Puro. Definitely a bit of a speed boost for your overall rates too, not just a quality thing. You can max out at over 1 mil GP an hour, which is a pretty good mark to land on for a skilling moneymaker. Definitely not the best, but also not the worst, so there is some potential there. Plus, for Iron Men, eclectics are a great way to stack up medium clues for your Ranger Boots grind, and Dragon Implings could be a good source for your Amulet of Glory. That's about all that I had on Puro Puro, everybody. If you still have any questions about catching Implings at Puro Puro, be sure to let me know in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you enjoyed the video or you just got some useful information out of it, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. I do stream on Twitch, which should be linked on the screen and in the description. I am also on Twitter and have a Discord, which are linked in the description. Thank you very much for watching my Impling hunting guide, everybody, and best of luck catching those Implings.